do your countdown.
All right, we begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, greetings once again. We're back with our second review of the evening, final one of the week. We are tackling Wild Romance Mofu Mofu edition. We did an interview about this with the translator of Cherry Kiss Games back on Wednesday. If you want like more details on how this game came over and what they had to do and all that stuff, you can go check that out in our archives. But for those who might have missed that, basically what we got here is a sex romp. I'm not gonna. I'm like,
Yeah, out of the various visual novels, this one has one of the thinner plots.
mm-hmm. I'm like, and mind you, our last visual novel review was over a very, very sexually charged one as well. But that one was a lot more focused on character.
It had gameplay and like more interesting character and setting stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. This one, this is pretty much a fuck fest. You know,
There's not a whole lot of setup.
mm-hmm.
And the I did not get too far in it, but there is not really a whole lot of connective to. I mean, the plot outline, and this is not really spoilers for more than about 15 minutes in the game. Is you are a kid who lived out in the sticks when you were young and went to school in Tokyo. Then you came back, and the 4 girls who you remember growing up with are all really hot for you. And then you accidentally find out that they're all animal spirits, and then Earth God gets mad at you for finding out and mad at them. So you say, no, let me stay with them. And he says, okay, but you have to like do work for spirits and stuff. And then you start having sex with them, and then in between you do jobs and looking for doing stuff for spirits.
God, Earth God's trying to cock block you, and I don't like this.
The Earth God is trying to turn you into a toad.
Yeah, that if you don't do the things he says, he'll turn you into a toad.
Like, yeah, turns out he's an Old Testament kind of Earth God.
Yep.
Should be noted that
that's the setup, and there's not really much in the way of complications.
Yeah. Honestly, if I had to use a word to describe this whole endeavor, it's vanilla. The whole wild romance.
As vanilla as you can be with animal ears and tails, which is frankly pretty vanilla.
Yeah, it's like that would be very strange elsewhere in anime-derived products. Very typical.
This is just another Tuesday in anime land.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's not like these animal girl spirits ever did a particularly effortful job of hiding. I mean, like they visually hid their ears and tails, but they still act like a dog girl and a cat girl. And I don't know. I guess the fox and the tanuki are a little bit less obvious, but that's mostly because, at least for the Western audience, you don't necessarily have a very developed idea of how foxes and tanukis act, especially tanukis.
Yeah. By the way, tanukis are a real animal.
Oh yeah, they're.
I saw that one anime movie where Kinnikuman voiced a tanuki.
And tanukis are actually a kind of dog, I believe, that is just
Yeah.
like.
I believe.
Yep.
Yeah. I just mean that, like, in terms of taxonomy, they are part of dogs, at least as much as wolves are.
So the kind of the red panda thing all over again.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, and to contrast this again with Mutiny, Mutiny had Animal Girls aplenty as well, but that one took it a lot more mythological. Like, it's not just ears or tail; it's like it's actually part of the body. So,
Yeah, these are very much the cute ears and tails type of animal girls, and in fact, they still have their human ears too. So
that always bugs
if you really wanted to, you can just pretend they're wearing headbands. I mean, it's really only
It's only for the purposes of wearing glasses.
Yeah.
What I was gonna say is that it's only like one or two of them that actually has their ears visible, their human ears visible. But
yeah, and you know, the whole wild romance thing comes from the fact that these are animal girls, not anything that actually occurs.
yeah, they're not people who have been turned into animals, and they're not like animal girls. They are actual animals that the nature god has taken as that the earth god has taken as apprentices. And in Japanese folklore, mythology, whatever, any animal that lives long enough can eventually become like a human.
Right. And as far as, you know, the sex itself, well, couple of things here. There, once again, if you missed the interview, this game is basically two forms. There's the patched version and there's the unpatched version. The unpatched version is what we got here, so our stream doesn't get taken down.
Yeah, I'd rather not get a porn strike.
Indeed. But this game is does very much have an R18 patch. It's available out there. It's not too hard to find, if I'm being honest. But yeah, that will allow the sex scenes to occur. And having seen the sex scenes, they're visually they're pretty rote for the most part. I'm like, it's pretty much typical heterosexual sex.
And you generally stay on the same one for quite a while, which I don't know how standard is.
Yeah, it's like those things lasted forever, and it's it's pretty graphic. It will detail, like, for example, what the pussy walls are doing. Like,
well, then I never thought that would be coming on the
There's
show.
an option to turn on or off the X-ray scenes,
right?
Because some people like those and some people don't.
Well, the X-ray scenes are the most interesting part visually because, I don't think I've ever seen a cream pie uterus before. Now I have. I can definitely say that's not a turn on of mine. Personally, bodily fluids aren't my thing.
Yeah.
And these are girls that definitely want to have your pups. So.
Oh God, they will. This is such wish fulfillment.
It's kind of disturbing with a dog who looks very young but is really into.
Well, that's kind of another thing we got to address.
Ages were changed, so this isn't child porn.
Well, all of these characters are literally hundreds of years old because otherwise they wouldn't be able to be humans.
Oh, fucking 1,000-year-old dragon bullshit.
Yep.
Yeah,
in terms of humans, most of them look teenagers, but the dog girl looks very young.
Yeah, let's be honest. The dog
looks old.
The dog girl's a lolicon. They had to change her age because of it. I think I watched something on Netflix while that sex scene was going on, because underage girl is underage. It's a problem, Japan. Stop doing that.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, anyway, getting back to the wish fulfillment portion of this package, no pun intended, there's a lot, in the dialogue, there's a lot of "they want your cock, it's so big" kind of dialogue over and over again. And, they're all enraptured with you. And if you've seen a lot of anime or hentai, you're going to be familiar with this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not even really, there aren't really any plot twists in terms of relationships.
If I sound kind of bored with all of it, it's because I kind of was. I mean, it's not just because the vanilla stuff is vanilla, but the characters aren't really characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're archetypes.
At best. I mean, I suppose like the they have basic personalities like the Tanuki girl. I think it's the purple haired one. She's really
laid back and kind of lazy, but not stupid.
yeah, and you can see it in the dialogue. Like she's been localized. Beyond that, there's not a lot there, which I find interesting because the Japanese company was apparently selling this on the merits of its characters.
Well, the character design is good, I guess, but I mean, it's aesthetically appealing, but the characters are, in terms of like personality, are pretty much cutouts, which is interesting because that's pretty much how this game works. Like visually, they're static cutouts that sometimes bounce around and change facial expressions by swapping out for different cutouts.
Yeah, it's like its visual production values are pretty typical of the genre. Like it's no Supipara.
Mm-hmm.
Nor is there any like fully animated CG intros or midsections or anything like that.
There is voice acting.
Yeah, it's like the voice acting that's definitely another interesting part of the package. Now, in terms of voice acting options, it's not as in depth as other visual novels where like you can adjust the volume of every different character out there. Like no, it's
such as that character's voice really annoys me. I'm gonna mute him.
Yeah, it's like no, it's just you can mute all or nothing.
And I believe it's only the 4 Animal Girl characters who have voice acting too. You don't have any voice acting, and none of the other characters, most of which don't show up for very long, have any.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like typically they don't get the guys' voices because
Well, I was spoiled by some of the recent ones where the male character is actually a character, and in this one you have the name Kazuma, but otherwise, all you pretty much have is that you.
I get that.
Yeah,
I do. It's just this one, that it's more that than that.
Mm-hmm.
That is to say, we get more ciphers than characters.
Right.
And
honestly, if you mentally imagine him as the guy from Konosuba, it's probably more interesting that way.
If only this were 10th as interesting as Konosuba.
Indeed.
But getting back to the voices, they're another interesting part of the package because, well, it's got Eroge voice acting. Like, you've got the fucking moans, the screams, you've got the
sound effects.
It's like it's very orally in tune with the visuals, which you actually don't get on all that many visual novels. I'm like, I'll be honest. Once again, that's not my thing because when it comes to sex noises, hentai typically doesn't get it right like at all, and it's very fucking distracting. like that sounds like a plunger, not whatever not the sex act you were going for there.
Yeah, honestly, I clicked through those scenes fairly quickly, mostly. I mean, the visual stays around for long enough, even if you're going through the text fairly fast.
Yeah. On that note, you may want to play this with earphones or mute, depending on your living situation, because yeah. Or you might have some storytelling later.
Don't play this through the public fucking Bluetooth speaker, whatever you do, dear God.
Oh, God.
Indeed. Right, so pricing. If I'm recalling correctly, I believe Wild Romance is dialing in at $15. Let's see, let me just bring up the pay. Oh, no, it's $11.99. $12. Yeah, $12. Oh, that's right. It's on it. It's actually on a deal. So it is.
Yeah,
15
it's 15 currently, or it's 15 base price, but currently it's on sale,
Mhm.
and there's also a bundle,
Yeah,
which
I mean, honestly,
is just
honestly, I actually wouldn't recommend the bundle because it's just the other version of Wild Romance, which is
which you can get with this one pretty much by not installing the patch.
yeah.
Also, I don't really recommend playing this without the patch because that's really the main thing it has going for it.
Yes.
Mhm.
I mean, it's still kind of a story, I guess, but it's not very long and
Yeah.
not
Look,
super.
if you want to play a version of this but a lot better, go and play Mutiny. I'll say that right now. Like, okay, it doesn't have like it
Unless you
may
really need it to be a guy in the main character position.
like or you're
And even then,
well, it's like or you're squicked off by monster trolls. That I could understand. Or you need like the Japanese production values. Like Western visual novels really doesn't worry about things like voice.
Mhm.
yeah.
You know,
I mean, we've reviewed a lot of visual novels and even a pretty good number of
Yeah.
eroge visual novels, and I'm not gonna say this one is bad, but
It's
this
just
one really
rote.
doesn't do much to stand out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like yeah, 10 to
I think $12 is probably closer to what it's worth than 15, but it's not like a terrible ripoff. But
Hmm.
you're not
That-
going to be playing this super much for the story.
yeah, it's like
No.
that sounds like yeah, getting it here on sale is pretty good. Yeah, but $10-15 is in general all right. Like, you know, for the package that we got here. Now, you like if you're looking for hentai porn, you know, of the vanilla variety, yeah, this got you covered.
Hmm. Now,
Outside
is
of
the patch on the site free or is that also paid?
The
it's free.
patch on on the company's site is free.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because some
Mhm.
places do make you pay for that as well.
I know. I mentioned in the interview that we reviewed one of these that had a paid patch.
Mhm.
You know, we were given the patch for free as well.
Yeah.
I suppose we should also mention what the Mofu Mofu edition is in the title. Um, well, Galax can tell you what it actually means, but the Mofu Mofu edition is basically the modified version of the game that allows it to be patched.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had to. We went over this in the interview, but they basically had to completely recode the game to because it was written in some obscure Japanese programming thing. So
Mhm.
they had to do it again in a program that's more compatible with patching and stuff. And Mofu Mofu means soft or fluffy, which could refer to ears and tails or boobs.
Probably boobs.
You know,
Anyway, yeah. So, any final thoughts on this visual novel here?
I mean, it's a visual novel. It's, if you're really into that and want one more to add to your collection, here you go.
yeah, it's fine.
Yeah,
If you're
I mean,
looking
it was,
for character development, this is not for you.
Yeah.
it was nice reviewing something that wasn't from Manga Gamer. You know,
Well, and, like, this isn't something, extremely dense that you need, like, 3 other games. This is just a whole, nice isolated affair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. Yeah, it wasn't one of those, but you know, it's a pretty ephemeral package, all things considered.
It's a candy thing, not a
Mhm.
I don't
Yeah.
know, not
Oh,
in terms of not something you can really sink your teeth into that much.
a one-handed exercise, if you will.
Ooh.
Right. So on that note, I think we'll conclude the review. Right. So the week ahead, we are coming up to the end of the season. Uh, we are doing our season finale next week. Not this week. Just to put that in order. Let's see. Hang on. For some reason my notes are closed.
Live research. Do, do,
It's
do,
just
do,
I
do,
gotta.
do.
I just gotta open the thing to see the people who. It's mainly for Tuesday's show because.
We know
I
who
definitely-
Wednesday is. It's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah. If I had forgotten, that would have been problematic on a whole bunch of fronts. Yeah. Anyway, so we are doing a Tuesday show this week. It's our last interview of the season on that day. And we'll be having Pascal Hyman, Hayman, Haymann, Hayman, I think, of Firefly
Hayman,
Studios.
yeah.
Anyway, Firefly Studios, they are primarily known for the Stronghold series of games, which is a pretty long-running franchise. It's I guess the best. It's a military construction game where you defend a castle, and it's been going on for quite a while now. Like, but their latest game is like, let's see, Firefly Studios is like a dungeon game. Release dates. Yeah, here we go. Metamorph Dungeon Creatures. This is an early access game that came out last month, where where it's a tactical action game where survival means morphing in between three unique heroes to counter and crush hordes of demonic foes. Charge into enemies as lightning fast rabbit, crush them as the monstrous ogre, and burn whatever remains as with the nymph's inferno. So
Those
it's quite,
are not the same.
yeah. We can critique their marketing later. Like, anyway, yeah, it's quite the departure from what they're usually known for, and we're going to be talking about that on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we're going to have my cousin Andrew, who is the co-founder of a company called Steel Wool Studios. They are heavily invested in VR, and they are delivering something called the Horus Heresy, or rather Warhammer 40k, the Horus Heresy. Galax, why don't you give the good people a primer on what the Horus Heresy is?
So, in the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, there is only war. This is largely because in the slightly less grim, slightly less darkness of the 31st millennium, the Emperor of humans made like 12 really super-powered guys to be his servants. And then, like, he was a really bad dad, so his favorite son, because of a whole bunch of stuff, rebelled against him and turned like half of the Space Marines to chaos. And everything's been going downhill since then.
Yeah, that's the very basic first story.
And I'm pretty sure some 40k lore buffs just had a stroke right there. Good job.
I don't think there's anything inaccurate about that. It's just very simplified.
I know, that's why they're having a stroke. Have you seen
And I
Warhammer
didn't even
40k
talk
lore?
about the robot dragon on Mars.
Thanks a lot, Charlemagne, and your weird way of succession.
Warhammer 40k is like, in spite of the goofy setting, like, it's got a lot of lore. Oh God.
I'm pretty sure they're starting to teach it in college courses now.
And it's fine as long as you don't take it too seriously.
Yeah. That is a good idea. Like, it's just I knew people in high school that were really into Warhammer and Warhammer 40.
Yeah.
So.
No, the Warhammer 40k has a very large fan base that takes everything, or a large section of the fan base that takes a lot of it way too seriously and like thinks the Imperium of Man is somehow something to be emulated or good, as opposed to a wow, this sure is shitty, isn't it thing.
I'm like, nerds missing the fucking fascist message. Never heard that one before. Anyway, so before this gets too political, I think that's a good ending segue. So until Tuesday, I wish you good gaming.